Now let's learn how to plot two sets of data on the one graph. So I've got a different graph here now. I've got some data for a bunch of molecules. I've got the molecular mass, which is the mass of some molecules, and the boiling point of these different molecules. And I've got two sets of data, so they're two different sets. What I've actually got here are, I'll just label them. I've got a set of data called for some molecules called alkanes, and these ones are called alkenes. So I'll just clearly label those so that we know what we're looking at. And okay, so that's one. There's one set of data here, and there's another set of data there. So I'm going to insert a graph for that. So running through the same process now on a scatter graph, and I'll just make it big enough so we can see. I right click and I select data. I add a new series, and the first series is alkanes. That's this set of data here, and I want to plot the independent variable here is molecular mass, so that will be on the x-axis, and the thing that depends on molecular mass is the boiling point, so that's on the y-axis. So I'll put the independent variable on the x-axis and the dependent variable on the y-axis. Okay, so at the moment, I'll just stop there for a second. I have a graph of that first series, and they are the alkanes. Now I'll put in before I go any further, I'll put in a line of best fit, and obviously this does not look like a straight line, it's a curve. And so when I right click here, I'll go add trend line, and the options that come up, if I just click the r² value, I can see it looks fairly good. It's close to 1. It should be close to 1 for it to be that line to be a good fit, but I can still see a good indication that it's not a straight line. Is that the points at the end are on one side of the line and the points in the middle are on the other. So I'll try some of the other options for the trend line. So I'll go back, format trend line, and there are several options available here. I could try logarithmic, and the number, hang on, let's see what happened to the r² value, 975, 9864, it's better, it's closer to 1. Let's try another one, 9974. Okay, so the best one was polynomial, and so that's good enough for me. We'll do that, and I don't really need that now, the r² value, so I've just found something that's a good fit to the data, and I'll close that. So now I have one set of data and a line of best fit for it. So before I go any further, I'll just put in all the labels and everything. Axis titles, horizontal axis, that was the independent variable, which is molecular mass. And that doesn't have any units, it's not in grams. Just in this case, if it had units, well, we could put it in we could call it atomic mass units. That'll do. And on the vertical axis, I'll put in boiling point, and that's in degrees Celsius. Alright, so that's pretty good so far. Now the next thing I want to do is add the other set of data, because I want to put them both on the same graph. So, one more thing. One thing I just like to do too is to have those major grid lines in the vertical direction too, just to make it look a bit more like a graph. Okay, we go back to select data and add another series, and this series are the alkenes, and on the y-axis we have boiling point, and on the x-axis we have molecular mass. And okay, now we have both our sets of data on the graph. I'll add a trend line for the other set of data, and it looks a similar shape, so I'm guessing it will be a similar type of graph. If I just look at the r-squared value, 0.9988, very close to 1, so that looks good. And because I want to make sure I can tell the difference between these two lines, I'll just go here to line style, and I'll make it dashed, maybe that one, just so it's easy to see. And you can see it's come up in the legend here, showing me which one's for which, alkanes, alkenes, which line. Okay, what else can I do here? Okay, the legend, I might put that at the bottom, right down there, and it'd probably be good to have a heading. So I want a chart title above the chart, and it's great to put what we're plotting, so y versus x, so it would be boiling point versus molecular mass. So there you can see now we've got two sets of data, one for a group of molecules that are called alkanes, one for alkenes, and we're plotting molecular mass versus boiling point. So that shows us how we can do graphs that aren't straight lines, and where we're plotting more than one set of data on the same graph.